Can!
It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So, a good performance from both.
Hi, welcome to Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get the show started. On the show today, Bangladesh Cricket Board President has finally spoken as the turmoil between them and India in cricket continues to simmer. Is it fair to compare Bangladesh to Pakistan in this matter? And what options do the ICC have when it comes to the T20 World Cup and Bangladesh demanding matches to be played outside the country? Over in football, new year, same old Manchester United. Another manager, yet another sacking. What was the final nail in the coffin for Ruben Amorim, and where do the Red Devils head to next? And stories around AFCON continue here on Firstpost. Cameroon books a spot in the last 8, but they did so despite fighting against the tide. What is this a reflection of, and who has been responsible for the mess behind the scenes, even as Cameroon continues to surmount it all? But first, the headlines on Sports 360. Starting with cricket, Australian batters Travis Head and Steve Smith have pushed England onto the back foot in the 5th Ashes Test. Head scored 163. Smith remained unbeaten at 129 to power the Aussies to 134-run lead at the end of the third day's play. England have already lost the series 1-3. Moving to football, Egypt were made to work hard to secure their quarterfinal spot. In the AFCON, the 7-time champions were held to a 1-1 draw in regulation time. Yasir Ibrahim gave Egypt the lead in extra time, and Liverpool ace Mohamed Salah ensured victory in the 120th minute. In tennis, former world number 1 Novak Djokovic has withdrawn from the Adelaide International. The Serb will start his season directly from the Australian Open. The 24-time Grand Slam champion said he isn't fully fit and wants to recover for the first slam of this year. Djokovic is yet to win a Grand Slam title since 2023. The turmoil surrounding India's Football League ISL continues. Despite assurances from the All India Football Federation over the start of the league, FC Goa has suspended first-team operations. Even if the ISL manages to start now, it will be a toned-down version with lesser matches. And summing up with NBA, Golden State Warriors narrowly lost to LA Clippers by 102 to 103 points. Steph Curry scored 27 for the Warriors, but he was outshone by Clippers' Kawhi Leonard. Warriors are eighth in the Western Conference points table. The biggest talking point of this week when it comes to cricket has been this: India and Bangladesh engaging in cricket warfare. It, of course, all kicked off and took a dramatic turn when KKR, the IPL franchise, was made to release its Bangladeshi player Mustafizur Rahman from their squad post the auction. Of course, the reason was safely assumed before BCCI Secretary himself came out and gave the reason. But here's the question that I ask today. Is it fair to equate Bangladesh to Pakistan when it comes to sporting and, in this case, cricketing ties? Should we give them similar treatment? And with Bangladesh having approached the ICC regarding the T20 World Cup matches, what can the ICC do now? And will this affect the World Cup that is a little over a month away from today? Now look, any geopolitical rupture, big or small, is bound to leave an impact on other aspects, and sports becomes a powerful and a rather easy tool to exercise that. We've seen it with India and Pakistan last year. The Pahalgam attacks has put a dent on what anyway was a remainder of that relationship, carrying the wounds of history forward. And now the situation seems to be on boil between Bangladesh and India. The trigger is the unrest in Bangladesh and the violence against Hindu minorities only escalating, with fresh instances coming to light every few days. And that has sparked off the Mustafizur expulsion, which has led to a chain of events. KKR, of course, removing Rahman has angered the Bangladesh government as well as the BCB, the Bangladesh Cricket Board, who have refused to play their 4 group games in India for the T20 World Cup, requesting them to be held in Sri Lanka instead. And taking all of this a step further, they've also banned the broadcast of IPL in their own country. The latest is that the BCB president, in fact, has come out stating their position in what has become a rather volatile episode already.
We do not feel secure sending our team to India. We are not communicating with BCCI because this is an ICC event. Playing in the World Cup is one thing and security concern is another matter.
The situation is very grave, and before we look at ICC's options here and what their response could be, let's consider the context. India is already navigating a tough relationship with one of our neighbors, Pakistan. Now, this is not a relationship that has seen turbulent times only in recent years. There is history, decades of history of war, bloodshed, and emotional turmoil that has been passed down over generations. So there is precedents to cricketing ties going sour. But Bangladesh and India is a relatively fresh wound, a new chapter of distrust, a friction that stemmed across the border but seems to have now got wings thereafter. One thought is this, that Bangladesh is no Pakistan, and so the cricket ties cannot see a similar trajectory in this case.
Bangladesh is not Pakistan. Bangladesh has not been dispatching terrorists across the border. Our relationship with the two countries is also different. You cannot make a simple equation between the two.
But even so, the hard lines seem to have been drawn here, which now means the ball is firmly in ICC's court, particularly after the bilateral series between these two countries here, India and Bangladesh, involving the shorter formats, was pushed from the previous year, 2025, to later this year here, 2026. Now let's look at what the schedule for the T20 World Cup is like for Bangladesh while they are in India. They play 4 matches, 3 in Kolkata at the Eden Gardens. These are matches against Italy, West Indies and England. And there's one at the Wankhede in Mumbai. That is against Nepal. So what options do the ICC have before we get to that? Of course, here's a few things to keep in mind when we discuss this. One, of course, no matter the decision taken, Bangladesh's matches being affected does not look good on the optics for India as a co-host for this World Cup. Either ways, a major dent would have been created in that India-Bangladesh cricket ties. 2, the seating capacities at both these venues. Kolkata is the bigger stadium. It houses nearly 70,000 spectators, whereas Wankhede is half of that. Around about 33,000 can sit there. Having said this, let me give you the options at hand here as we can see it. 1, the matches are moved out and there is no replacement games. That would mean a bit of a revenue hit. 2, matches are moved out, but India backfills. So the loss is not so much, but that's the thing. Replacing an India-England game, the Bangladesh-England face-off, replacing a game of that caliber would be very difficult with the scheduling already out and with certain matches already placed correctly. And then, of course, there is this direct swap between India-Sri Lanka. The matches here go there, and then, of course, that comes here, keeping India match inventory intact. So the cost incurred will only be in the logistical part of it and the planning of it all. No revenue loss as such. So ICC clearly has a tough one here tackling this. And whatever decision they do take, bottom line has to be this. It has to be a win-win for all parties involved. And that, as we've seen in the past, is always a hard one to crack. 2026 is here, but at Manchester United, time seems to be stuck. A new year usually brings hope and signals positive starts. At Old Trafford, it brings another sacking. Portuguese manager Ruben Amorim has been shown the door after just 14 months in charge. Memes followed instantly, concerns, of course, right after and quicker. It seems like Manchester United is once again searching for a new ringmaster. So the questions are obvious. Was Ruben Amorim the problem, the real problem? And most importantly, of course, what does Manchester United do from here on? Now, when you talk about legacy clubs, Manchester United's name comes into the conversation automatically. A club built by legends, managers who intimidated Europe. A trophy cabinet that once defined dominance, but that same history has now become a bit of a burden. Because today, Manchester United are facing problems you would expect from a second division club. and not a global football powerhouse. And this isn't a rough patch, this isn't one bad season, this is a decade-long collapse. Ruben Amorim is the 6th permanent manager to be sacked since Alex Ferguson retired in 2013, David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Erik ten Hag, and now Ruben Amorim. In between, United also appointed 4 interim or caretaker managers: Ralph Rangnick, Ryan Giggs, Michael Carrick, Ruud van Nistelrooy. Tacticians, experienced football minds, and yet nothing significantly changed. The United manager's job became a game of musical chairs. And with every sacking, something else happened. Old Trafford stopped being a dream destination. It became a graveyard for managers, a place where reputations are broken rather than built. The Stratford end, once a symbol of fear, has now watched more managers fail than succeed. Ruben Amorim is just the latest addition to that list. Even chess world champion Magnus Carlsen couldn't resist taking a jab here. A year ago, Carlsen said that Amorim should be sacked within 2 months. Harsh, absolutely, but brutally honest. Because that was the mood among United fans almost from day one. Because Amorim was rigid, unapologetically so. Despite United struggling, he refused to dilute his philosophy. At first, that stubbornness seemed like conviction, especially when Amorim claimed publicly that he had the full backing from the hierarchy. But 20 games into the season, reality hit hard. Results simply weren't good enough. Matches United should have won comfortably ended in draws or defeats. Everton, Wolves, Aston Villa, Bournemouth, Leeds, Grimsby Town. These are fixtures United are expected to dominate. Because winning these games gives you the cushion to compete against sides like Manchester City, Liverpool, and of course the likes Arsenal, Chelsea. But United kept bleeding points. Amorim lost 1/3 of his matches here, his win percentage hovering around 39% because of all these sort of results. Now, numbers that are, of course, indefensible at a club of this caliber, of this size. And it wasn't just about the results here. Players who didn't align with Amorim's vision were swiftly frozen out. Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Rasmus Højlund, Andre Onana, all shipped out on loan. The worst part, of course, was that the fallouts weren't private, they were public, they were ugly. And when pressure mounted, Amorim didn't soften. He doubled down. That latest statement was the tipping point. Amorim didn't just question the hierarchy, he effectively told them, I'll finish my contract and only then will I walk away. That was never going to fly at Old Trafford. But can Ruben Amorim be blamed here entirely? Not quite, because Manchester United knew exactly what they were signing up. A manager married to his system, a coach who demands players tailored to his philosophy. And let's be honest, every elite manager wants that. So why did United pull the plug halfway through? Because backing Amorim required something United's ownership has repeatedly failed to show: commitment. The club spent nearly $320 million in the 2025 transfer window, but still key gaps remained. Players Amorim wanted never arrived. Recruitment felt reactive, not strategic. And this is not new.
I consider one of the best jobs of my career was to finish second with Man United. I keep saying this because people don't know what is going on behind the scenes.
That quote sums up United's real crisis. On the surface, the board backs the manager. Behind the scenes, they pull the strings. They want instant success without any long-term planning. They want a showcase without the structure. And that's why Manchester United has turned into a bit of a circus. They want the ringmaster to deliver miracles. But behind the curtains, the ringmaster is being operated like a puppet, controlled, restricted, set up only to fail. Until United fixes that, no manager can really survive. Not Amorim, not the next one or the one after. Because the harsh truth is this: Manchester United are no longer hiring managers. They are hiring scapegoats. And until the people above the manager are held accountable, Old Trafford will remain exactly where it is today. A giant, but only in name. Cameroon is an African powerhouse, 5-time Africa Cup of Nations champions, a nation that has produced icons, historic upsets and moments that still echo through football history. Yet, their recent qualification for the AFCON quarterfinals is not just another tick on the achievement list. It is redemption, because behind the roar of the indomitable lions lies a story that is far more complicated, far more turbulent and far more extraordinary. Because Cameroon's journey has never been about just football. It's always been about survival first. Now, Cameroon is not just another national team. It is one of the most feared and respected footballing nations in all of Africa. And yet, over the last 18 months, the setup has gone through one of the darkest and most chaotic times in its history. The chaos has a familiar starting point. One of the greatest African footballers of all time, Samuel Eto'o, a legend on the pitch, but a deeply divisive figure in administration. Ever since Eto'o took charge of Cameroon's Football Federation in 2021, controversy has only followed, and relentlessly. Accusations of match fixing, allegations of financial mismanagement, and repeated incidents involving anger and misconduct, each one damaging Cameroon's image on the global stage a little more. At the 2022 World Cup, Eto'o was caught on camera assaulting a man outside a stadium. In 2024, he was banned after being found guilty of offensive behavior, following explosive accusations that match officials fixed the Brazil versus Cameroon match at the Under-20 Women's World Cup. And the turmoil didn't stop there. Eto'o's confrontations weren't limited to outsiders. He fell into a bit of a public fallout with national team coach Mark Price. Bryce was appointed by the Sports Ministry and against Eto'o's wishes, yes. That decision ignited a full-blown power struggle, though, between Cameroon's Football Federation and the Sports Ministry. Two institutions pulling the sport itself in opposite directions. Players were caught in the middle, preparations were compromised, and the consequences, they were severe. Cameroon failed to qualify for the upcoming World Cup, one of the lowest points in the nation's footballing history. For most countries, that would have been the end of the road. For Cameroon, it became familiar territory. Because the indomitable lions have always found a way to rise when chaos threatens to tear them apart. Despite the dysfunction, despite the political battles and the uncertainty, Cameroon are back in the AFCON quarterfinals, where they will face hosts Morocco.
Missing out on the World Cup was a big deception for us, but we're a young group of players who are still growing together.
That statement perfectly captures Cameroon's footballing DNA. Success for this nation has often arrived despite internal adversity. History proves it. Player strikes over unpaid bonuses, coaches hired, fired, and rehired in chaotic fashion. Squad selections influenced by politics rather than true merit and performances, and yet Cameroon kept winning. Cameroon are the only African nation to have featured at 8 World Cups. They were the first African team to reach the quarterfinals in 1990, and even that legendary run came against the backdrop of dysfunction. A language crisis within the squad, coach Valeri Nepomniachtchi struggling to communicate with the players, poor preparations, a fierce rivalry between goalkeepers, and even presidential interference. The then leader Paul Biya demanded the inclusion of Roger Milla against the wills of the team management. For most nations, this would have guaranteed a collapse. For Cameroon, it became fuel. And the AFCON story today is no different. This rise happened not because the system suddenly worked, it has happened because the players refused to let that stop them.
Cameroon play with a big heart, fighting spirit, and are a physically strong, very tough opponent.
But let's be clear here, this is not a romantic tale of chaos breeding success. This is a reflection of raw, generational talent and extraordinary mental toughness. At this AFCON, Cameroon have fielded a young side full of energy, hunger and strong belief. This is the future of Cameroonian football.
The young players are the future of Cameroonian football. They have great quality and a lot of potential. We will continue to support and guide them. That is our objective at this stage.
That refusal to bend, that instinct to fight when everything is stacked up against them, that is why they are called the indomitable lions. But football at its core is not just about moments of brilliance and players fighting through. It's about systems protecting the players. Cameroon's march into the AFCON 2025 quarterfinals is a testament to character, courage, and collective pride, yes. But it's also the time to ask if this lot gets that backing. And a management who wants Cameroon to dominate football, just imagine how far this nation can go. Time for last serve. Morocco erupted in joy after their side entered the AFCON quarterfinals following the 1-0 win over Tanzania. Fans took to streets. The hosts are eyeing their first title ever since 1976. Take a look. That wraps it up here on Firstpost. I'll of course see you again tomorrow. Till then, do take care. Bye-bye.
The world doesn't fit in boxes, so why should your news? From battlefields to negotiation tables, from internet outrage to real-world injustice. The conversations everyone is having and the ones they're avoiding. It's the same show, but this new year, Firstpost America gets a new look. I'm Kerry Johnston, and this is Firstpost America.
Want the facts?
The latest developments?
News that gets straight to the point.
Well, we've got all three just for you. This is Firstpost Live, a brand new show, your window into what really matters.
Don't miss it.